Hey guys, it's Marshall Ting with your Superior Ag Insurance Ringside Report for this past week, the week of September 11th through the 17th. So fall is pretty much upon us, especially or in a stockyards instance, so to speak about it. Your run sizes are getting drastically larger, and you're also starting to see a bigger spread, a price rise per weight range, and you're starting to see a whole lot more buyer selectivity on these cattle. If they're not sure enough number ones and twos, you're really starting to see a discount, or you're starting to see them at least look a little closer and cut a little closer in the pens. Now, let's talk about run size. So across the state of Kentucky this week was pretty strong run-wise. We sold 20,772 head of cattle through our auction markets this past week. Compare that to this time last week, that's up 5,500 head from what it was last week. Now, if you compare this to a year ago, you're still up 2,650 head. So your runs are really starting to come upon us. Now, let's talk about this volatility that we're seeing in this feeder market. So both feeder steers and heifers this week, they called them steady to $5 lower, with some instances of $5 higher. And I think this really just has to show your balling calves, your fleshy calves coming right off these cows, and your lesser quality cattle. Say they're not ones and twos, maybe they're twos or threes. You're really starting to see a discount on these type cattle, and even you're seeing a discount on them on your ones and twos. If maybe they're not preconditioned or haven't had 2 rounds of shots or don't have at least 30 to 45 days winning on them, you're starting to see a little bit of difference in your price range and what they're giving for these cattle. Now let's talk about your yearlings. Yearlings this past week were everywhere. They called your yearling market $4 lower, up to $4 higher, and I think kind condition and buyer selectivity is really having a big difference and showing you this range here this past week. But let's talk about these real fast. So spreads on these lightweight feeder cattle this week are massive. So let's talk about your full weight steer cattle this week. Full weight steer cattle this week, $1.64 to $2.29. That alone is a 65-cent spread, top to bottom, and this is on ones and twos across the state of Kentucky. That's massive. That 65-cent spread is. And like I said, if they're not sure enough the best, or if they don't have that precondition or at least a weaning on them, you're really starting to see a discount. Now, all in all, as a whole, I'd say you're still pretty consistent as what we've been seeing as far as an average is concerned. I'd say these full-weight steer cattle this week are averaging right around $2 to $2.05. Now, let's talk about your 5-weight cattle. 5-weight steer cattle this week, you're looking at $144 to $205. That's a spread on those of 61 cents, so not as much as on the 4-weights, but still a pretty solid spread. Now let's talk about the average on these. I found this pretty interesting. I think this is the tightest average you've had on a 5-weight steer in quite some time. Most times I give you a nickel, 7 cents, even a dime on an average. This week I want to call it within 2 cents. It looked to me like, for the most part, you're looking on a 5-weight steer that you get them caught and bought for $1.90 to $1.92. That's pretty tight, and that's pretty consistent. Like I said, it's really taking the top tight cattle. And like I said, you're $5 higher. I think you're really seeing a strong demand and a really high premium on these cattle. If that $1.20 or $2.29 is nothing to shun. But $2.29 versus $1.64 is a pretty big spread, and you'll see, you know what I'm talking about. So let's talk about these yearlings now. Yearling cattle are everywhere, $4 lower to $4 higher, and I want to break down for you real fast exactly what I'm talking about on these. The kind, condition, and color on these cattle, as well as your group size, is really having a huge effect. Now I want to fixing to compare to you some color differences as well as group differences to show you the premium or lack of premium based on what you're selling and your group size. So let's start off here real fast. I've got them for just about every category of your 8s weights. Let's start off with our light 8s. So here's 50 head of these. These are going to be mixed cattle now, mixed steer cattle, 804 pounds on the average, $1.6275. Now, let's compare that to a very, very comparable weight, black set of black steers and a big set of them. So here's 114 head to compare against, black, and they call them fancy, 811 pounds on the average, so 7 pounds difference, $1.8025. That's $8.50 difference just between having one load of them versus 2 loads of them, and having them black and fancy versus having mixed. That's a huge spread if you ask me on an 8-weight steer. Now let's compare another set of them. Here's another big string of these. Here's 124 head of these, all black-coated steers, 861 pounds on the average, $1.7650. So nothing to shown about there. That's still pretty comparable to our CME feeder cattle index. Now compare that to the same type cattle, same type weight range, smaller group. Here's 66 head of these, black-coated steers as well, 862 pounds on the average, so only 1 pound difference between the two groups, $1.7495. So you're looking at right at $1 difference almost, $1.40 difference maybe between your big set of 124 at 176.50 and your 66 at 174.95. Pretty significant drop all in all for having one load of them versus having 2 loads of them. And here's another set, black versus mixed. These are going to be on your heavy 8s. So here's 78 head of these. These are all black coated steers, 881 pounds on the average, 175 flat. Not too shabby, still pretty tight with the CME. Now compare that to another set of them that are just mixed. Red Charolais, blacks, the whole color spectrum in there. 61 head of these mixed steers, 884 pounds on the average, $1.65 flat. That's a solid dime difference that you're seeing just in the fact of having your cattle mixed versus having them black. So just kind of keep that in mind as you go forward and as you try to market your cattle that you've got. There are pretty drastic slides on these cattle based on quality, kind, and group size. So kind of keep that in mind as you market them with your expectations and also how you need to market those cattle. Keep that in mind to keep your profits as high as possible. Now let's talk about this CME Feeder Cattle Index. We've seen some variation in it as well. We had a pretty hard dip this past week on your CME Feeder Cattle Index. Let's talk about that. So Monday the 12th, your CME Feeder Cattle Index was $1.8006. By the time Tuesday the 13th came around, $1.7997. So a little bit of a drop, but nothing crazy there. Wednesday's when we start dropping. Wednesday the 14th, you're looking at $1.7851. Thursday was our low for the week. Thursday the 15th, you're looking at $176.82. So a drop between Monday and Thursday, you're looking at $3.24 in a matter of 1, 2, 3, 4 days difference on there. That's a pretty sharp drop within a week. Now the good news is by the time Friday rolled around, Friday the 16th, market did bounce back up $1.10, and your CME Feeder Cattle Index for Friday was 177.92. So just kind of keep that in mind as we go forward. You're seeing a lot of volatility right now. And it's not just here with us across the state of Kentucky, but it's pretty much everywhere as this CME Feeder Cattle Index reflects. Now, if you have any questions about what's going on with this cattle market or what kind of things you can expect with your LRP policy that you've got in state, or if you're interested in putting an LRP policy on these lightweight cattle, $2.29 for a 4-weight is a lot of risk to put in. Especially with this kind of volatility that we're seeing in these yearlings, and you never really know what the future is going to hold with everything going on in the world around us. So if you're interested in putting an LRP policy in, a livestock risk protection policy, feel free to reach out to us. Superior Ag Insurance. Call Ian Thomas at 859-613-2453. Check us out on the web, www.superioragins.com. Thank you so much. Look forward to talking to you soon.